Well, here we are in another episode, your host, Slyvia Gina Hunt. And today I have the distinguished honor and pleasure of having Miss Julienne Jack here to express her mom's life, autobiography of her mom's life. And so we're going to get started right away. And I want to thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you, Gina, for inviting me to talk about my mother, Elmira Wilkinson Jack.
All right. Let's start with the very beginning. Tell me where she was born and raised and all the good stuff.
Elmira Wilkinson Jack was born in Montclair, New Jersey, to Eldon Thomas Wilkinson, and her mother was Carrie Johansson Wilkinson.
Okay.
Mother was the second, she was a twin, okay, and she was the second child of the family.
Okay.
Her older brother, Sonny, which was actually Eldon Thomas Wilkinson the second, Jr.
Okay.
He was about 8 years older than she.
Okay.
And my mother was a twin.
Okay.
And in 1918, when you had twins, that was a tough job.
I can imagine. Double trouble, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Her mother, they were premature.
Okay.
And her mother actually kept them warm in a basket in the oven. She would heat the oven, turn it off, and then put the babies in their baskets and put them in the oven.
Okay.
As with many double births or triple births in those days, the other twin died. And my mother was the only surviving girl.
Okay.
Mother grew up as the little girl, and then she had a little brother right after.
Okay.
So my mother was a tomboy.
Okay.
She carried on with the boys.
Okay.
Unfortunately, her mother fell down the steps when my mother was 7, pregnant with another child, and she died.
Oh, okay.
So my mother was raised by my grandfather and an aunt until my grandfather met a nice woman that he married, and she took care of the children.
Okay.
My mother went on to a very illustrious career as a singer in B.E.A.T, which was their choir and their social activity in Jersey. And my grandparents went to a high Episcopalian church over in Jersey, so she was involved in those activities for teenagers. And my mother was actually, she sang in Madame Butterfly, she sang the lead.
Wow, what history.
Yes,
Yes.
operatic history. She went on then to go to a finishing school and came home and continued her singing and the other activities that she participated in.
Okay.
She had many friends in New Jersey.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they're all gone.
Okay.
But they were all in their 90s when they left.
Okay. Which is excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. A long, powerful life. I'm sure you can give us so much details of the things that occurred. But wow, we almost have 100 years to talk about.
Yes.
So
yes.
that in itself is, very profound and just awesome.
Well, Mother was an awesome person. She was loved by all of her friends and family. And then she met Mr. Julienne Jack Sr., who at the time was an assemblyman here in New York.
Okay.
And he had a son
who
was, when they first met, he was 3-4 years old.
Okay.
And in the pictures that I have brought over, one of the pictures is of Edwin when he was approximately 7 years old.
Okay.
Sitting with his dad and his new stepmom.
Okay.
Now, Edwin, mother felt an immediate bond to Edwin because his mother had died when he was 2.
Okay.
Her mother died when she was 7.
Right.
So she took on the responsibility of bringing up this precocious little boy who could read and could talk and just everything that he turned out to be. He's an atomic physicist and a college professor, and now he's retired. But at that time, he was just a precocious little boy running around.
Okay. Professor in physics. Well, that's something. That's amazing in itself. I mean, back then, very difficult for,
Well, he accomplished that in the 60s.
Well, yeah, that's great. Yeah.
But in the meantime, she married my father in 1941.
Okay.
And she was the bride of the assembly because they got married on a Saturday or a Sunday, I'm not sure which. And then he had to go back to Albany to be in the assembly.
Okay.
So he actually, they announced her as the bride of the assembly, which, geez, that would be an awful lot of guys to deal with.
Okay.
At that time, the assembly was all male.
I see.
There were no females.
Not yet.
No.
We haven't broke that barrier yet.
We did break the barrier.
Okay.
But in 1941,
Okay.
there was no such a breaking of the barrier. The ceiling, the glass ceiling was still there.
Right.
My mother was the perfect housewife. She took care of Hewlin Jr., and she took care of the house back in New York.
Okay.
And she continued with her singing. Unfortunately, she was not allowed to continue that. So she then moved to her Quintowners, which was a group of ladies in the neighborhood who she organized, and they were a club of ladies who were at home.
Okay.
And they had meetings every month.
Okay. To help the community better, or
no, they were just so that they wouldn't
socializing,
playing among themselves,
playing
going
cards,
to church, bingo, poker, food,
okay,
and their own little boys and girls.
All right,
because they all had kids.
No, I understand.
Yeah, so it was quite the thing, and then World War II, of course, broke out. And there was an armory down the street from us, and the children, practiced their little marching up and down in Central Park. They weren't warriors; they were just little tykes in the park.
Right. Not worried about the war at all that it broke out.
Oh, of course they were worried.
Oh, okay.
Because both my uncles were in the war. My oldest uncle was he left as a lieutenant in the entertainment corps.
Okay.
And my younger uncle, I don't know where he was stationed, but he was also in the military. And my grandfather had been in the military in World War I.
Wow! So you got a history, and you really have on observation of what was really going on.
Yes,
in detail. So no, that's great. And your mom must have really felt that. What could she do to really teach you? I know they must have taught you how to protect yourself and that kind of thing.
We'll get to that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but my mother wrapped bandages and did all those things that women did here in the United States for the war effort.
Okay.
So she was involved with, I don't remember what the organization was called.
At that time?
At that time, yeah.
Okay. Something like the Salvation Army or?
No, USO thing, type of thing where they rolled bandages and did things for the war effort.
Okay.
My uncle on my father's side was in the military also. He was a watchmaker, and so he was one of those that made the timings for the bombs.
Wow. That is great. That is so your mom really, wow, she got to see a lot of things.
Yes, she did.
And that's just the beginning.
Yes.
You haven't even got...
Yes. I must go back and tell you that she even saw the Hindenburg blow. Because at that point in time, Jersey was basically flat and my grandfather stopped the car to watch the Hindenburg dock.
Wow.
But it didn't. It was the first docking, and instead of docking, it blew.
Wow.
And so my mother saw lots of history.
Absolutely. Unforgettable. Did she ever write a book, or did she ever start to make a memoir or something?
No.
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 I guess she's left it in your hands to, to teach it.
Yeah, mother.
Is that something that you might do?
Mother progressed further in life, and unfortunately, she passed due to the Alzheimer's and the ravages of Alzheimer's.
Okay. And what age was that? Was that?
Mother was 96 going on 97.
Wow. That is amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
And I know that, when people think of their moms, they think of the love, the caring, the great cooking, the great baking,
Here's where the story gets very deep.
Okay.
Mother was not a cook.
Okay.
In fact, her stepmother said, go out and go to your meetings, go to your friends, do other things.
Okay.
Mother never learned to cook. When she got married in 1941, the phone was her best connection to her mother in Jersey.
I see.
And she called her all the time.
For recipes.
For recipes and how to do things.
Okay.
Her first Thanksgiving, she had 35 people in our dining room. Unfortunately,
35 people? That's a big place then.
Yeah, it was a big dining room.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she had bought a fresh killed turkey. In those days, you didn't have the butter ball from the freezer unit. Mm-hmm. And she'd had it defeathered, and she didn't know how to clean it.
Oh.
So she soaked it in ivory soap and water. Yes.
Okay.
Mother didn't know how to clean a turkey.
Okay.
So that's what she did, and then she put it in the oven with salt and pepper and all the herbs and everything. Mm-hmm. And when her stepmother came over with her father, she said, Myra, how did you do the turkey? She said, well, I soaked him in ivory soap and water, and then I put him in the oven with all the seasonings you told me to put on him. Her stepmother said, okay, let's throw the turkey out.
Okay.
And they had sides and dessert because the turkey was soapy.
Right. Wow. I know your dad must have had something to say about that.
Really? What could he say? He had married a woman who couldn't cook.
Well, did he know how to do it? Because, they can help out, in that.
No, my father was a man born in St. Lucia.
Okay.
That was women's work. He had nothing to do with the kitchen.
Oh, I see what you mean. Oh.
My father couldn't boil water without burning it.
Oh, okay.
So that was not his job.
Okay.
So he had very little to say because the turkey was soapy.
Right.
Ivory soap was not good for the digestion.
Well, did your mother think of a solution? What was her solution? Did you get someone to come and cook?
No, she learned. She learned.
All right.
By her mother-in-law, her stepmother rather, calling back and forth. And she made sure that Edwin knew how to cook, clean, sew, and do some crafts so that he wouldn't be like his father and his uncle, absolutely no knowledge of the stove.
I see.
So it
balanced out.
It balanced out because it gave one man the ability to cook and take care of himself.
Right. For his future.
For his future.
Right. So, no, that was great. And then, of course, you learned.
Oh, I learned, yes.
Absolutely.
Of course I learned. And
so then if your mother wasn't that, she must have been really good with her hands, creative. What? Did she know how to do cars? Did she know how to, what? Because a lot of times.
My mother had gone to school for seamstress work.
Okay.
And she actually could go from Muslim design
Okay.
straight on up to a finished pattern and then the sewn garment, which she did for my high school prom dress. Was
Okay.
actually a sketch in the Times magazine of a Christian Dior gown, which she draped on the form, fitted it to me,
Okay.
actually drew the pattern, and then cut the material and made the dress.
Wow.
So I had an original.
You sure did. Wow, that is amazing.
It was wonderful, except for the guy stood me up.
Okay. Yeah, but it was in school, so you could go by yourself. I mean,
No, I didn't go.
Oh, so you changed your mind?
No, I just
After she
didn't
made
go.
the beautiful gown?
There was no reason for me to go. I didn't have a date.
Oh, I see. This day and age, I mean, things were so different then. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
This day and age, the girls, they can wear the gown. If nobody asks them in the class, they can just go. Their mom can still get them all pretty and do them up, and they can still go. Of course, I mean, our role has changed so much now.
Yes.
We have
The
opportunity.
female role is much different. But in those, I'm really getting ahead of myself. We're talking about my mother.
Yeah.
And we're talking about her upbringing.
Yep, absolutely.
And how she survived through, well, one war and my father's political career, and then on to being a grandmother and a great-grandmother.
Right. Well, what did your mom think about her husband and his career? Did that inspire her? How was that?
Well,
In her heart and her mind,
my mother was an assembly wife. My father had a job, and then he also had the assembly. So he had two careers that were going at the same time.
Which was law and...
No, my father worked for a paper box factory.
Okay.
He sold Altman's, Gimbel's, Bloomingdale's, Bergdorf Goodman, and all the Lord and Taylor's and all the major stores in New York. They're set up paper boxes, the gift boxes that you got one stacked into the other. That's what he sold.
Oh, that's
And
great.
he
That's
had
a
come
good
here
idea.
from
That's
St.
not bad.
Lucia,
Okay.
having no real urban business acumen. And he learned to work with this paper box factory where he got a job.
Mhm.
They went on strike, and then he became the floor manager.
Mhm.
And when they came back from the strike, he was so well liked by the employees that they didn't give him a hard time, and he moved from managerial to salesman.
Mhm.
And his personality brought him into the spectrum into the life of all these different store owners.
Okay.
He knew the Gimbels brothers.
Okay.
He sold them boxes for Gimbels and for Saks.
Okay.
He knew the family that owned the Altman stores.
Okay.
He was quite prolific in his sales acumen, and politics is basically a sales job. So
Yeah, absolutely. And with your mom behind him, and
Yes.
Her input,
my mom was
she
very
really was
instrumental.
yeah, of course, she had to be.
Yeah.
So it's strong-minded and having knowledge of so many things.
Yes, her family had taught her all the social graces, so she then could carry them over and teach my father.
Right.
So that when he was at a dinner, he wouldn't have to scramble as to which fork or which knife to use for
Okay.
which course of the dinner,
Okay.
and which glass
Etiquette.
was etiquette.
Yeah.
Which glass was for red wine, white wine, and water.
Okay.
And these were things that she passed on not only to my father, but
Right.
to my brother,
Mhm.
and then to his friends, and then my friends.
Okay.
So she was a teacher,
Absolutely.
a wonderful teacher who was right on target with so many things that people needed for the lifestyles that they lived.
Okay. Which is great.
And my father was very graced to have her.
Absolutely. I mean, just from what you've said so far, a great woman usually has a good man and a great man, a great woman. They say it the other way around, but we know.
Yes, the strength is with the woman.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And when a good woman is there to provide for the family and to make sure that things are in the proper perspective, which is family and love, and in that order, love and family.
Yeah.
And then everything else just blossoms from that.
Yes.
So that's a good indication of that. So then she wasn't a great cook, but she
learned.
And she learned, and she became a great cook at some
Yes,
point.
she became a very great cook.
So you said that she was a tomboy, so what did she have skills? And I know, did she know about cars? Did she, because some women, they know about these things that, that because of their uncles and their brothers and their fathers, that she picked up a few things about the cars and the things like that.
My grandfather eventually had 7 businesses. He came here when he was, I think, 18.
Okay.
From Bermuda.
Okay.
And he married my grandmother when they were both 21.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
which means they already know who they are. They're in love already.
Yeah, they knew
Very
who they
mature.
were. Yes.
Okay.
And he had 6 brothers or 7 brothers,
Okay.
and each one of them came up here to New Jersey and had a business because my grandfather started them. One of the businesses was was actually a car repair shop.
Okay.
The other was a floor polishing and restoration business.
Okay.
Which my cousin actually still, I think they still run it today.
Oh, excellent.
My third cousin.
Okay.
His brother, William, helped him with the business, and then he turned it over to him. And unfortunately, when the crash happened in '29, my grandfather lost all the businesses.
In 1929?
In 1929.
When the
stock market crashed. So it was quite tough for him. But he did have a job as a chauffeur for the first Rolls Royce to come into New Jersey without a couple from England.
Oh, whoa, great. That had to be, wow. The pictures, I would just love to see the pictures that you have. You've got some pictures that are just history. I mean, really collectibles,
Yes.
really.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
really.
Mr. King had ordered a Rolls Royce.
Okay.
Mr. King is the one who perfected the home ice cream refrigeration system, the crank ice cream bowl.
Okay.
And his car broke down in front of my grandfather's house. Actually, this is what happened.
Okay.
And my grandfather went out and helped him and got his car started so he could go off on his weekend. And when he came back, he offered my grandfather a job. My grandfather had brothers up here taking care of his businesses, so he decided he would go work for Mr. King.
Okay.
And when Mr. King ordered his Rolls Royce, the company sent a couple from England,
Okay.
a butler, driver, and a maid, housekeeper.
All right.
And they had to work for at least a year under the person who had purchased the Rolls Royce. My grandfather paid them their year's salary and sent them back to England.
Wow.
So my grandfather became the chauffeur. And he was the one to take care of all of Mr. King's cars.
Wow.
And
That had
that's
to
how
be
they
amazing.
survived during the Depression.
Well, something closed and something open. So
Yes.
that is just really amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
you see, there are quite a bit of historic moments in my family.
Yeah. And particularly, and this all because due to your mom and to bringing everybody around
Well, no,
and keeping the family together.
my mom went on to grow up and then become the woman that we have been discussing, Elmira Wilkinson Jack.
Okay.
And I'm sure there are people who will remember her as the songstress, as the one who was the middle child.
Right.
But I will say that most of the family is gone.
Okay.
These are the people my age and younger who may have heard of her.
Okay.
But yeah, it's.
Well, she had a long life.
She had a very long life.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, did she like to travel? Did she?
She had a wonderful time traveling.
Okay.
When my father became the candidate for the borough presidency in 1953,
okay,
he won the election and was installed as the borough president in 1954, January of 1954.
Okay.
And she was.
And is that I think that's the first borough president that we had in New York City, period.
He was the first African American borough president of Manhattan.
Okay, so wow, that's history too.
Yes, it is.
And that pen and that paper and that newspaper, do you still have it?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes, and the magazine articles that.
And that's a big picture of your mom and your dad.
Well,
they get together, standing at the podium.
All right. So we're wrapping.
Well, this is part one, and we're going to be back in just about to go on further with the history of Miss Jack.
Thanks for tuning in to this Mother's Day episode. Now check out this small slideshow by Julienne Jack. Enjoy.
B.E.A.T